Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Shelf Flowers Facts. Over the years, our problems with Myra were on and off. This was because Myra would be out of town for various periods, and during these times, we had no problems. The problems started when she came back and continued until she left again. Myra's RO against Terry could be enforced from the time it was served until the time it was denied at a hearing by a judge, assuming it was denied. This was because it was a temporary RO, based on the assessed danger from the alleged knife marks on her door. And with such a RO, what many don't realize is that with the right lies, placed at the right time, could have prompted the police to respond in a way that may have developed into a tragedy. After Myra's RO against Terry was dissolved, we suffered the aftermath, mentally, emotionally, and financially, while Myra continued on as if nothing had happened. The following night of the hearing for the RO, in the early morning hours, she came back, almost too drunk to make it up the stairs. However, for a while, the one difference was that she was comparatively less disturbing. We think this was because she wasn't sure if we were going to file a motion for the court costs and or sue for malicious prosecution, as Eric's attorney had done with me with the help and support of Myra and other tenants. During those following months after the RO was resolved, it was wishful thinking, I suppose, that made us wonder if things with Myra may have been essentially settled. And given a bit of time to decompress, it started to dawn on us just how much Myra had actually put us through and the damage it had caused us on so many levels. It may have been around this time when we said to Jay, referring to our problems with Myra, when we stop and think about what we have been through and why, it is emotionally overwhelming. Normal people, decent people, would have had some level of empathy, concern, desire to correct things, something. However, with Jay, this too was seen as weakness and information for him and his attorney to use against us. And as a result, it turned out, in all respects, that things ended up becoming worse than ever for us. When Eric's attorney sent us the 5 sworn affidavits from the tenants in our building, we could not believe the multitude of cruel and malicious lies they signed under the penalty of perjury. For the first week or two, Terry had to watch how absolutely devastated I was. Terry, too, was affected very badly from this. We had already been through so much for so long, and now we were dealing with this level of prejudice and hatred towards us over absolute garbage, spewed out by those harboring petty vendettas and self-serving agendas. As I said before, if this had taken place in a part of the world where one is often told to either bear false witness against someone or they and their family will be put in jail, we would understand and accept the choice they had to make. Perhaps for some, if they were on their own, they may choose to go against such forces, but they wouldn't have the choice if it involved others, namely their family. Obviously, that is a completely different universe from what we are dealing with here. And after the initial paralysis from the pain and despair those affidavits caused for us, we became angry at the boundless level of injustice these people were ready to subject us to. These people are very well aware that we have done nothing wrong, that we are good neighbors, that we have been through a lot of our own misfortunes, and that we have had to tolerate Myra's abuse on top of those misfortunes. They are also aware that Terry is a senior with cancer, and for this and other reasons, moving is not an option for us. Therefore, they know what making us homeless would mean and what the eventual outcome would be. In short, death, especially for Terry. It would just be a question of what he had to go through and for how long before he got there. And if they get what they want, we know with absolute certainty on the day we leave as evicted tenants, Myra will be there to openly say something on the lines of, "Evicted, bitch? Told you Jay had my back, bitch." With anything we have to say about this situation, we figure that we need to say it now, because we probably won't get a chance to say much in court, and much less of a chance than that on the street. Which brings me to my next point, that we understand is not viewed the same way by the law. All things considered, what these people wish to do to us is essentially premeditated murder and absolutely evil, an evil that should not be allowed to complacently hide behind technicalities. And as I said, we are angry now and intent on making sure that, at the very least, we try to expose these people, including Jay, for who they are, what they are, and why they're doing this to us. Because it definitely isn't to save their families. Like a lot of people, especially vulnerable people like us, we already live with enough day to day uncertainties and various other things that at any given moment could unexpectedly finish our already fragile existence, such as earthquakes, fires, of which we've already had a few close calls within this building, some sudden and dramatic change in zoning laws, etc. But on top of that, with Terry's condition, we live under a very dark cloud from day to day, hour to hour, and even minute to minute. I should be able to treasure and cherish every moment I can have with him, and instead of having that stolen too because of being consumed by this evil garbage. Matt criticized us for saying we couldn't afford to move, which is a particular point I will try to address in the next video, as, along with an attorney issue, I hope to start covering the 5 sworn affidavits from the tenants in our building, starting with Matt's. For us, at least, this building has been a closed system of abuse, where the truth isn't welcome, and Jay likes to keep things hidden. And as some examples of this, in this post, I will show a video of the entrance gate being busted open during an attempted home invasion, and a video of Jay taking down a notice about the attempted home invasion. The notice was above the building's mail cluster box unit, and Jay tore it off while he was waiting to show a unit to a prospective tenant. For all he knew, there may have been some tenants who were not home at that time the incident happened, and therefore remained unaware and unprepared for any potential follow ups. And when Terry mentioned the attempted home invasion to Jay, he basically said that it didn't matter because it was a year ago. It is well known that several attempts were made to break down the building's side gate too, which has never been correctly fixed and often doesn't close properly, which Maggie and some other tenants have also blamed us for, and at least in Maggie's case, even mentioned this in her affidavit. Thanks for watching, and I hope you continue.